When it comes to changing shock travel, all shocks should be as easy as this one. Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be changing the travel or stroke length of a Fox float shock. So this shock over here is a 210 millimeter eye to eye, that's its size, and it currently has 55 millimeters of travel or stroke. The person buying it from me needs it to be a 210 by 50 millimeter travel or stroke size shock. Now that's one of the beauties about modern day metric shocks. Each size has multiple stroke or travel options we could choose from, and we could change to cost effectively. So for instance, this shock here is a 210 size, and ultimately it could be a 50 millimeter, 52.5 millimeter, or 55 millimeter travel or stroke length shock. All I need to do is add or remove spacers, which do not cost all that much. Now some shocks make it way easier to do that, like this Fox float as you're about to see over here, as opposed to other ones, which is going to be a little bit more of an involved job. Now, one thing to note when it comes to changing travel on certain shocks, so for instance, this RockShox over here, RockShox gives you sag indicators for a given travel length, right? So this is a 45 millimeter travel shock, and we have the sag indicators and percentages. Well, if I change the travel on this, these indicators are good for nothing anymore, right? I can't use them. RockShox would prefer that you go out there and buy a new damper body and travel spacers in order to keep accurate sag indicators. Whereas with this Fox, we don't have the indicators, but well, we technically don't really need them. All we have to do is buy a couple of cheap travel spacers or remove them, and I keep the same damper body. And that's an advantage in my opinion. So overall, this whole metric thing was a real positive for consumers. It allows us to go out there, especially in the used market, and find shocks for really, really good prices. And if the size meets the frame's need, but the travel doesn't, well, we could cost effectively change that to meet the needs of a given frame, all right? So with that being said, let's just jump straight into this job. In some cases, this job could be done on a frame, right? So this shock over here, again, it's very easy to change the travel on it, as you're about to see. But some frames don't really allow for it. It's pretty tough to get in there. So ultimately, it's always going to be easier to remove the shock from the frame to get this job done. So for starters, what we need to do is remove the air. Now, I've already removed it. You can open it up, and you are going to slowly remove the air from the shock. So then you're going to take the sag ring and bring it either all the way down if you keep it on the frame, or just remove it when you take it off, just to keep it safe. And then we need to separate the shock. Now, I've already loosened it. If yours is super tight, you might need a tie strap maybe, or maybe not, right? But ultimately, we need to loosen it. Now, I always put pressure upwards when I loosen, just in case there's unknown pressure in there, right? And we're gonna pull it back until the wiper gets just past the damper body base, so we can remove all pressure from the air can. And we're good. There's no more pressure in the air can. And here is our travel plate. So next what we're gonna do is loosen these screws here. And we're gonna remove them. One, or nearly one. There we go. Put it on the side. Don't lose it. And now let's do the same for the other one. Oh, my hands are slippery. All right. Come on. Look at this. What in God's name? Good geez. I think I was off the whole time. And basically we lift our travel plate. Just like that. So when I went to buy the travel spacers, I really couldn't find them online. I literally had to go buy them directly from Fox. There's no stock out there as of today, or let's say this past couple of weeks, but that could change next week, right? So the question came up, could I use the travel spacers from a Float X, which is extremely similar. There's two main differences that I see. One, the float travel spacers come with a cutout for the bleed screw. That's not a big deal to me. I really don't care about that. But the big difference, in my opinion, is the axle. The middle is wider on the Float X as opposed to the Float. The screw holes fit perfectly, and the overall diameter is the same. The outer diameter is the same if I put them on top like this, for instance, right? So that's not an issue. But again, if you look at the middle, the screw hole, the axle hole is larger on the Float X, the orange one. Now, something tells me over time that could be problematic as it hits that bumper, but I don't think it would be all that bad because the bumper does absorb impact. So I don't think it would actually stretch the plastic in as you bottom out over time, right? So can you use the Float X? Yeah, the holes fit perfectly. The outer diameters works just great. It's only this inner diameter that's difference. You do lose access to the bleed hole, but reality is you're only going to use that bleed hole really if you're going to be doing a full 200-hour service, right? So in this case, I ended up getting actual travel spacers for the Float. Now, these are 2.5 inches each. So if I want to drop from 55 to 50, I would need 2 sets, right? So this is one set, this is the other set. Now, one thing to note, they don't sell them as sets for some odd reason. I have no idea. Fox sell them together as a pair, man. So they sell them separately. So you're gonna get one bag for this, one bag for that, one bag for that, one bag for that. I mean, they're only like $1 each. But still, you need both of them. I'm never going to install in any scenario one. Sell them as a set, for crying out loud. It's just totally ridiculous. I don't understand how the decision was made, okay? Now, another thing to note is if you're going beyond a certain size and below a certain size, we also have to change out our screws. So when you have, let's say, one travel spacer, and that's it, or no travel spacers, you could use these M3 by 8 millimeter screws. But if I go 2 travel spacers, then I need to use M3 by 12 millimeter screws. You could buy these for super cheap at any hardware store, or you could buy the Fox ones. I'll put the part number down there if you want to buy them from Fox, but every hardware store sells M3 by 12 and M3 by 8 screws. So when it comes to installing the spacers, this could be a little bit tricky. We have to hold up this plate, right? So first, we're going to put one side, and again, you want to line up this hole with the screw hole over here, not the bleed hole, right? So that's lined up over there. Then we're going to take the second one, we're going to line that one up just like that. All right. Now what you can do technically is put this one down since we know we're lined up, and then grab our 12 millimeter and start this side just to hold it all in place. All right. Oh, I had it and I lost it. There we go. Now I have it. Okay, this only makes it a little bit easier, right, to hold it all in place, because the other side is where it gets a little bit tricky. So now find the notch that sticks out and put it to the notch that's in, just like that. Hold it on this side just like this. Do the same to the other one. That should fit in. And now by default, this should be real close, if not sitting right on top of the holes, or the hole that we need to screw in there. There we go. Take this, screw it in. Oops. Hopefully you can see that well. All right, now we're going to screw this where it's nice and snug. Don't over torque it, because this is aluminum. You could strip that. This one I still have a little bit more to go. And again, nice and snug. Don't over tighten this. There's no reason to over tighten. A nice finger snug and we are good. Let me make sure I got this one last time, and we are good. Now when it comes to closing it back up, we are going to push it up and we're going to try and find the port to equalize the chambers to make our lives easier, right? It's going to take some pressure. There we go. And once you find it, let it sit there for a second. And then, boom. There we go. Screw it together. And do it as tight as possible by hand. If you want, you could put it on a vise. You technically don't need a vise for this job. Clean your hands of any kind of grease or alcohol to make sure you got really good grip. Same for the surface. Or you can take off your gloves to get even better grip. Do it as tight as you possibly can. we go. And we put our sag rig back on. Then we fill it up with air, and after you fill it up with air, you put your cap back on, and then you're gonna put it back on your bike and you're gonna pound it again, all right? So folks, this is an easy job. Again, this shock makes it a lot easier. Other shock designs, not so much. You literally have to take apart the entire shock, almost like a 200, well, actually like a 200-hour service, in order to be able to put a small travel spacer in here. Personally, I wish all shocks were this easy to change to travel on. I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't be this easy, right? Moving forward. Slowly but surely, they're getting better at all this stuff, all right? So, folks, if you like this video, click that like button, click that subscribe button to see more videos, click that bell button, ding, 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 in order to get notified when new videos get released. More videos like this are coming. If you want to check out a couple of videos right now, those two over there might be of interest. And until the next time, I hope all's well with all of you, and we will be talking to you all soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.